What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Bituation Room podcast live stream thing show situation. I am your host, Francesca Fiorentini. I'm so happy to have you here, have you in the room, have you in your room, have you all the ways that I want you. Gross. Why? We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking about the Teamsters strike. Is it happening? We'll find out. There's been a little bit of a deal, potentially. What does that mean? Will the workers, UPS workers, vote for this most recent contract and offer? So journalist Teddy Ostrow is going to be joining me, who has an entire podcast dedicated to the UPS strike that everyone should be checking out. As well as comedian Yamaneika is here, and she's going to be joining me in a little bit. We're going to talk about more Trump legal stuff, this time involving a RICO case, well, not involving the RICO case, involving all the things he did in Georgia, but potentially in order to capture everybody, just that wide ass net, it's going to be, a RICO case. It's usually reserved for mafia. So that's going to be interesting. Also, those fake electors, which, by the way, we've talked about on this show. We looked at video from Coffee County in Georgia of, lots of Karens just being like, we're not doing anything illegal, as they took voter rolls home with them. Well, it turns out some of those fake electors are now being held responsible, specifically this time in Michigan. So exciting stuff. Very exciting. There's also fake electors in Georgia, as I mentioned, Coffee County. So it's I don't know. I don't know how many walls there are to close in on this guy, but they close in. And then, of course, Florida up to just more BS. This time, rewriting the history of slavery by requiring that students are taught the benefits of enslaved people and the benefits that those people received. So we will get into that. But if you are here, make sure you're liking the stream, you're sharing the stream. Let people know that you don't watch, weird yoga videos on YouTube. Also, please rate this podcast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm just going to read one because I read them all, every single one. Z55 said, recently I heard Francesca on another podcast. I wonder where. Noted her name, found this. What a delightful, charming, witty soul. I guess I'm now a serious fan person. Yes, you are. Hello, fan person. Welcome. We have a lot of fan people here. And then we're going to close out the show, guys, if I didn't mention this earlier, in honor of Barbenheimer and the two, box office hits, even though we support the workers who made all that possible. But I want to know, what's a toy from your childhood now that studios are doing toys? What's a toy from your childhood you want to see a movie about? What's a war crime that you want to see a movie about? Maybe your childhood is the war crime you'd like to see a movie about. Let's hear the pitch. I'm going to ask Yamaneika about it, and we will discuss our thoughts. I have seen neither film, so I'm very excited for this underinformed discussion. No. And by the by, this show, it's all thanks to you. It's thanks to you, the listener. It's thanks to you, the patron. It's thanks to you, the member on YouTube, and you, the member on Twitch. This show would not be possible without your support. Truly not possible. It's completely independent. There are no ads. If you have not noticed, I do not run ads on these shows. That is why I implore you to become a patron. Patreon.com/bitchuationroom is where you go to support. We have a goal on there. We're far from our goal, but hey, we're over 350 patrons, and that is so meaningful. And don't unsubscribe now, because then I would just have said a lie. So you know what I'm saying? You get bonus content every single Friday. You get to listen back, watch back to the bonus bish where we get it. Oh, there's so many good stories for our bonus bish this week. Another Biden dog has been biting Secret Service agents because they know what's up. You also get access to the American Prospect online. You get a deep discount if you want to become a subscriber to the American Prospect and get that magazine into your hot little hands every couple of weeks. All that, discounts on merch, patreon.com/bitchuationroom. If you do just want to support the show generally, we take tips, TBR-live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App. And with that, very excited to get into what I'm bitching about, or maybe not bitching about, but this is What Are You Bitching About? So it turns out that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene might watch lefty media. That's right. So I do a show every Monday. I'm part of the show called The Damage Report on the TYT network. Some of you know me from there. What's up, Dragon Squad? Been doing that for how long has it been, guys? 3 years now. Every single Monday, most Mondays when I can make it. And yesterday, John and I got this alert that Marjorie Taylor Greene had tweeted, I just watched The Damage Report for the first time. Okay, I'm sorry. I just watched The Damage Report for the first time. These two admitted atheists are attacking President Trump about his Christian faith while claiming to hold moral beliefs. And she goes on and on and on. She's describing the video that she saw. They only attacked Trump and Republicans and never defended any Democrat policies. I think she meant defended, went out. I don't know what she meant. But they complained about summer heat. We did. I mean, anyway, I'll get to that. Too bad they can't understand that the Earth's climate has been changing since God created the Earth. Oh, and if you're a white Trump supporter, they claim you're racist and that you need CRT to understand your whiteness and your racism. There, I watched it so you don't have to waste your time. And she tweeted a screenshot of me and John. Very unflattering screenshot. But she's not wrong. Like for someone who misrepresents pretty much everything, she kind of got the gist of what we were talking about. I mean, the whole God created the earth and that's why, he wants us to perish in a, fiery fossil fuel hell of our own making. That part, let's leave aside. But I did talk about racism and I did talk about, I can get into what I talked about, but I want to show you a little snippet of the video that we talked about. This was John and I yesterday. And you can see, couple things I just want to say. In order for her to have seen the part where we complained about the heat, that was the beginning of that video, of the live stream. What I'm trying to explain to you, if you don't know how this works, is she was tuning in live, people. That's what was happening. Because what happens on YouTube, you clip up the stuff, you trim the banter. She was there for the banter. So she was there for the banter, and she was there for two stories. We talked about Trump's fake religiosity, and we talked about racism in the MAGA base and how they think that so-called anti-white racism is bigger than anti-black racism. Fun, because that's not a thing. So she watched at least 20 minutes of The Damage Report and watched us and didn't really make fun of us, just kind of gave free advertising in this tweet. But it's very funny because you should see the type of what we actually got into. So let me just play a little snippet of this and I'll fast forward obviously through John's part because boring, you know what I'm saying, and just get to mine.
My question is, how has your faith grown since you decided in 2015 to run for president, and who has mentored you in your faith journey?
Great question. It's such a great question. I've seen so much heartache and turmoil. I was a developer and I did other things, and I had a wonderful life before all this stuff. I didn't know what a grand jury was. I didn't know what a subpoena. What is a subpoena?
I didn't know what a grand jury was. I didn't know what the question was. What am I supposed to be saying? Where am I? What year is it? He was asked a question there by a woman who I'm sure is lovely. And she seems very religious, and she's very interested in the religion of the candidate that she's going to support. So she wants to know about his personal faith journey. And so obviously he starts about talking about the fact that he developed real estate and he gets sued a lot. Now, look, a lot of people are throwing these clips out there and saying he doesn't answer the question, which I don't think is 100% true. I think it's 99% true. He touches on what could almost be an answer. So let's give him the very limited credit that perhaps he has earned. Then we'll make fun of him, but first, a little bit more.
I had a wonderful life. I'm so glad. They asked me the other day a little different question. Are you glad you did it? Was so you had a
oh God, a little different question. It was a big different question. Now I'm being thrown an ad. This is amazing. I love ads on these videos. I'm trying to rewatch. Support TYT, y'all. But okay, so he didn't answer the question. If you want, he's like a little different answer. Let's go to what this incredible, intrepid commentator had to say.
He's not even able to fake being a religious person.
That I think is the most stunning part of this non-answer, is that after all these years and after being given so much leeway by the evangelical right, Donald Trump still has not even come up with a line, just a thing to say about his faith, a thing to say about religion and his own Christian faith, probably, even if he doesn't believe it, even if he's never read the Bible, like even if he doesn't know how to pronounce Franklin Graham's name correctly.
Sorry, that's Graham. Franklin Graham.
It is Graham?
No, he's an idiot. He doesn't know.
No, he's an idiot.
He said, so he's like, oh, I love Franklin Graham. Like, oh my God, everyone knows it's Graham. So that is what Marjorie Greene was watching. And then she further, and I gave a little, I don't know if I'm the one to give this lesson, but there was this like anti-white racism question. Do you think racism is a bigger problem against white people and then against black people? And I kind of was like, first of all, not possible to have racism against white people because the whole construct of race created by white people, created by white supremacy. So you can be bigoted, you can be discriminatory, you can have, whatever, call white people names. Racism is a structure of power developed over time by white people and enabled through, systems like slavery. So you and Jim Crow and whatnot. So like, that's not possible. So she might have watched all that. Have we flipped Marjorie Greene, people? Anyway, there she is claiming that she watched it for the first time. And my God, I don't know, y'all. I think she might have been watching it multiple times, because here's the thing. We talk about Marjorie a lot on that show, and I feel like she has, she's got Google alerts on her name. She sees her name. She's like, I'm not in the thumbnail. What's going on? I gotta watch, or like, I'm watching anyway because I usually hate watch it, but then I like it. And, and so it's like, well, 3 months ago when I started hate watching, it was just because it had my name in it. And now I just kind of like it because John's cute, and that brown one, she's all right. I think is she Chinese? So that is my hope and prayer for Marjorie Greene. Of all her hateful, disgusting tweets, that one was pretty fine. So we'll see, guys. Does she keep on tuning in? And I cannot wait for her to utter the phrase, the bituation room, or tweet it out and spell it wrong or spell it right. Marge, come on the show. Let's have a debate, bruh. Debate me. We'll talk about whiteness. Let's do it. We'll talk about whiteness. Let's talk about racism. Come on the show. My room is air conditioned. It's actually really hot. Anyway, with that, let me bring in for the rest of the show someone who I've been an admirer of online. Kind of just some of the funniest stuff out there, especially just like random live streams on Instagram. If that's what you crave, I do. Stand-up comedian, actor, WGA award-winning writer. You've seen her on Comedy Central as Maya on Life and Beth. Yamaneika Saunders. Yamaneika, hi.
Hey, Francesca. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I've wanted you to come on the show for a long time, and we usually bitch about something. That was what I was bitching about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not really mad at this person. This
Marjorie.
I
mean, she needs to be watching anything called The Damage Report because she's damaged. So why wouldn't she watch it?
It's true. She's like, is this better than therapy? Yamaneika, what are you bitching about on this Tuesday in July?
There's a couple of things I want to bitch about, but I wanted just to recap a little bit. Donald Trump, if anybody thinks that man is a Christian, didn't he push his ex-wife down the flight of stairs and then buried her in the back of his golf course? Like, come on, bro.
Right. By the seventh hole. Yeah, no, it's
I was convinced that he was actually the Antichrist because he represents everything that they said the Antichrist was. So I was checking to make sure he wasn't giving out the mark of the beast.
Totally. Well, what I didn't realize about the so-called devil is that apparently if you check all the boxes of the devil, you become the savior. It's like a little reverse cycle. Like, I don't know where it says in the Bible that that's the loophole.
Listen, I'm not going to act like I'm not a Christian. I am. Do I follow white Jesus and white people and whatever they got? Not really. You understand? But do I believe that there's a higher power, there's somebody I pray to and I communicate with? I'm doing the best I can as a human being, and yes, I do. So I really get embarrassed when these people open their mouths about Christianity because they are not representative at all of any of the tenements that Christianity is based on: humility, love, appreciation, incorporation of everyone, and sacrificing yourself to serve others. So none of them are Christians. Even that woman with the dry hair that stood up and asked me the question, she don't know what's going on. And you really can tell a Christian by like how their skin look, their hair, and all kinds of stuff. That woman's skin looked a mess.
I love how like some people believe in the prosperity gospel. You believe in like the conditioning gospel. Like,
yes, right. Your hair is very dry. Very dry.
You know, it's funny about that tweet too, because she was like, they're self-described atheists. John said he was an atheist. I don't think I go around saying I'm an atheist. I definitely don't believe in God. I believe in a higher power. So I guess, was that an agnostic? Whatever that basic bitch universe shit is.
My thing is this. I definitely, I would not be doing myself a service as a Christian if I did not, promote God and promote Christianity. But I also understand why people don't want to subscribe to whatever God they serving, because whatever God they serving is not the God that anybody would want to serve. They don't represent God well. They don't. God is supposed to be doing most of the work. You're just supposed to be a representative of love, compassion, and humility so that people can see God through you and be willing to have a conversation or open themselves up to God. So a lot of these people are standing in the way as a roadblock, and it's unfortunate. So I always tell people, really talk about your spirituality, your connection to God for yourself. Do not look at other people as a representation, because we are all human and we're making mega mistakes every step of the way. And that should not be a deterrent for you seeking a higher power and having a connection with God, because so many people that represent him don't know what the fuck they doing.
See, that is a perfect answer that Trump should have given. Like, well, my relationship to God. I mean, like, first of all, that is a great answer. But also, he could just be like, well, that's a personal thing. He said that before when he's been asked about his religion. Oh, it's personal. Mm-hmm. But he forgets that he can always play the personal card. He could, because he's been asked straight up, like, what do you like better, the New Testament or the Old Testament? Mm-hmm. This dude, the look in his face was like, test to who? What?
Right.
Is that a legal thing? Is that another lawsuit coming down my way?
Yeah. We used to do this thing when we were kids where we would dare each other to go into the dark bathroom and say Bloody Mary 3 times and then flip the lights on and see whatever. I would implore him or anybody who wants to ask him about his Christianity, if he can go into a dark bathroom, say Jesus 3 times, flip the lights on, and not completely disappear. So, it's like those are the kind of things. Can you say Jesus Christ? Can you say, that he died? There are admissions that people must make when they're Christians. You believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins. You believe that he is the only way to heaven. Those are things that need to be said out of his mouth. Now, whether other people believe that or not is one thing. But if he is a Christian under the auspices of Christianity, those are the things that he knows he needs to communicate to everybody who is.
I don't think he knows. I feel like he's like, Jesus Christ, great guy, really wonderful guy. He came to Mar-a-Lago once, like that. That wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
If
He has
I showed him my documents.
It's asinine to think that he has any hold on Christianity. And to be honest with you, a lot of these conservative white Christians, they are only participating in Christianity because they have conditioned everyone to believe that Christianity really supports a lot of the nonsense that they promote and keeps them in a certain level of power. If at any point in time they had to really subscribe to the things that Christianity and the tenements that Christianity really stand for, they would not be a part of it.
Yeah, they were like, clothe the sick and feed the poor. Gross. That would mean we'd have to actually welcome migrants and refugees into this country instead of turning them away. But anyway, Yamaneika, I'm gonna count that as what you were bitching about. But I know there might have been more because I want to be mindful of time as this is a live show. But let's get into it. There's a lot of things happened this week, but two major ones in my book. This is the week where. Okay, so keeping with the Trump theme, I apologize. But there's a lot. There's a lot that's coming down. Yeah, and a lot of this has been punted. We now know that specifically the documents case will be punted to spring. The January 6th charges, the indictment may be coming down any moment. We don't know. Jack Smith is on the case. But I'm focused on two other cases, and that is this case in Georgia where Donald Trump really just wanted like 11,280 votes or whatever it was. He just needed those specific votes. I just love the idea that like Rudy wrote that on a napkin and he was repeated it to, the Brad Raffensperger at the time. And so this is all about what he did in Georgia and who he sort of employed or who he empowered to try and steal the election in Georgia, which, once again, historic defeat for Republicans in Georgia in both, 2020 and then most recently in 2022. So, the prosecutor is Fannie Willis. She's the Fulton County District Attorney. District Attorney. And she actually has a history of doing a lot of RICO cases and like racketeering specifically, this racketeering RICO case. And the statute in Georgia requires prosecutors to show the existence of an enterprise and a pattern of racketeering activity that is predicated on at least two qualifying crimes. In the Trump investigation, the Fulton County District Attorney has evidence to pursue racketeering indictment predicated on statutes related to influencing witnesses and computer trespass. And that computer trespass is what I was referencing at the beginning of the show, which is that Coffee County Karen coming in and just being like, oh, we're just, she was like on her phone, like playing phone games while they just like copied a bunch of voter rolls and stuff. Like the actual shit, the shit that like Fox News was obsessed with, like, why did that box move? You know what I mean? No, there's literal evidence that like Trump stooges just took and copied a bunch of voter information. But anyway, so this is all because of this grand jury that I think we remember the forewoman, the horsey forewoman in Atlanta heard evidence for roughly 7 months recommending charges for more than a dozen people, including the former president himself. And that forewoman strongly suggested in interviews, though Fannie Willis will have to seek indictments from a regular grand jury, which is interesting. So it's not this special grand jury, a different grand jury. That new grand jury was seated on the 11th of July, and the selection process is underway. So why RICO? So let's just get a little background. This is from The Drift. It's like a very deep dive about RICO. RICO has advantages for prosecutors. You don't just get to do more. You don't just do it to get more time, says Steve Sato, a criminal defense lawyer in Atlanta and RICO expert who represented the rapper Gunna in the YSL case. The YSL case, by the way, YSL stands for Young Slime Life, which I didn't know that. But apparently Young Slime Life was effectively like a criminal street gang, and run by the rapper Gunna, and who else is in that crew? I forgot. But anyway, yeah. So that's let's go back to where I was. You do it because it allows you to introduce more evidence. Prosecutors generally can't bring up the criminal history of a defendant as proof they're likely to have done the thing they're currently being accused of. But RICO's predicate component requires the introduction of past criminal acts. Predicates can encompass offenses for which someone was already locked up, or even incredibly ones of which they were acquitted. Indictments might include acts committed in any jurisdiction, plus state crimes that cannot otherwise be federal offenses, upping the stakes for the defendants, and even bypassing stricter state rules on prosecutions. So that's huge. And for example, the other people who've been RICO'd, labor unions, boo, tobacco companies, MS-13, abortion protesters, good, Hell's Angels, corrupt politicians, white-collar criminals, R. Kelly, that makes sense, FIFA, which is incredible, the Nexium, that wasn't that like fucking weird-ass cult, and then Major League Baseball, which is incredible. And Fani Willis had led the case against Atlanta teachers, is currently prosecuting YSL, and maybe RICO's #1 fan. In March, CNN reported she was considering using the statute against Trump. As of this writing, there are whispers that RICO may be deployed against the protesters opposing a police training facility known as Cop City in Atlanta as well. So good and bad. Going after protesters for Cop City, bad. Trump, good. Young Slime Life, not really sure. Apparently there was gang activity, robbery, attempted murder, but
No, in situations like that, I'm not in support of any kind of gang activity and all this other nonsense. I think it breaks down the community in so many ways. Most certainly the people that are putting these guys up on charges, these young quote unquote thugs, don't care about them dismantling or disrupting their own communities. It is only when the time comes that they are becoming so advanced to become a problem, right? That they are going to start becoming independent financially of their own means and have their own level of leadership, which we know is not something that especially conservative Republicans want people of color to have access to. And I don't support these young guys either, because I think, again, I don't support any type of criminal activity.
But you're not with the Young Slime Life.
No, I'm not with it. No, I don't even. When you didn't know I didn't know who it was either. Like I turned them down and turned up.
It's Gunna and Young Thug. Speaking of Thug, literally Young Thug. But it's interesting that like Young Slime Life, arguably like Trump, one of the slimier politicians, also sort of running a criminal organization. That Fani Willis was like, this is too much to go after. Let's just RICO it. It's a whole organization. It's a whole operation going on here. Yeah. From the White House to these electors to, to whomever else that is involved in Georgia. So that's coming down.
Even there is a problem, right? Because like, if you have somebody who's president of the United States telling you that they didn't know what a grand jury was, what's happening here?
Well, they can't be accused. They can't be convicted if they didn't know what it was. Like,
well, it means that he stands on what they're, and I get a lot of flack for talking about this because people always go, oh, we always talk about white people. It is this sort of like the hierarchy, right? This power structure that is happening here that they don't want to have dismantled. The fact that when Donald Trump ran for president, the audacity that he even had the wherewithal to try to run for president with zero experience, probably didn't even run for president of any class that he was in, and has no idea, probably the different departments of government and judicial systems. The fact that he became president is problematic, and is what is, as a white male with money, this is what it afforded him.
Right.
And so you have to dismantle that whole entire system, because he's being held up not just by himself, by a whole community.
I mean, that's why, I think in this moment of so many criminal cases coming at him, you really like, he was like, a drunk chimpanzee let loose inside of our democracy and banging on all the metal piping and the inner working. He was like it's like a rat eating out like the insulation of a home. Like that's what he.
The Muppet on the Muppet Show with the bad hair and the teeth.
Yeah, the bad hair. Talking about Animal. You mean Animal?
Animal, yeah. Animal.
First of all, Animal loves his hair like that. It's great. He's definitely Animal. He's just like, Animal does what Animal wants. Yeah. And now you're seeing like, oh, attorney generals in Georgia, like, people who are involved in like special prosecutors and the FBI, like actual career politicians, people who worked hard, who studied, who went to law school, who were elected, who have like careers, be like, yeah, so here's the thing about just doing whatever the F you want. You can't. And I'm going to get you on a million, like all of these crimes. So it's at least, while our politicians, you're totally right, our politicians like, like fell over, like, the inflatable guys outside of an auto, a car sales dealership.
Yeah.
Like the justice system seems to be sort of picking up the slack. We will see what happens, but it seems like they're picking up the slack. And I want to go to Michigan because there's another person involved, which is Attorney General Nessel. What is her first name? God damn it. But she's bringing counts against 16 people who were involved in the fake electors plot in that state. If you guys remember, the fake electors are basically like, MAGA deputized stooges to be like, so you guys are going to be the real electors sending, that are going to be reporting your state's count, presidential count. Like, what? Okay, what? Alternate slate of electors. This is what Mike Pence refused to announce in front of Congress, and refused to accept these alternate slate of electors. So Ms. Nessel brought the same 8 counts against all 16 defendants. The offenses include conspiracy to commit forgery, since the defendants are accused of signing documents stating they were qualified electors, which they were not, publishing forged documents by circulating the materials to federal and state authorities. And on paper, the penalties for the offenses range from 5 to 14 years, but sentencing in this case would presumably be lower than that maximum. Just hit them with it all. So remember how 2 years ago we were like, wait, are these people just going to get off with being like, I have a badge that says elector. Oops. And turns out, no, at least not in the state of Michigan or Georgia.
I mean, you can't blame them. They get to do whatever they want because, I don't blame these people because they've been living under the system for a long time. I'm surprised they tried to cover it up as much as they have. When you live in this country as a person of color, you got to cross your T's and dot your I's. Right. Somebody's always going to be asking you what's happening. These people just like, yeah, just do whatever makes them comfortable, and then we're going to do whatever we want. This is the system that we have been brought into.
Absolutely. They're going to plead the, I didn't know that I couldn't do that, officer. And they can't do that. Turns out that's not a defense. But let's switch gears because this is indefensible. The Florida Education Board has decided that they're going to stop woke in the schools. And stopping woke means stopping learning about history. And in fact, they're going to rewrite history and get it very, very wrong. So what they are suggesting in middle school is a new curriculum, instruction for both middle school and high school about that things to do with slavery and then resistance to slavery. So specifically in terms of resistance to, racial violence. In a couple of instances of massacres, including the 1921 bombing of Black Wall Street, which we all remember, one of the last surviving people who was in that bomb in the Tulsa massacre was denied reparations recently, denied money. And the 1920 Ocoee massacre must include acts of violence perpetrated by African Americans. In other words, these were white-led mobs and victims were Black, but because there might have been some kind of defense or another act of violence, we got to talk about that. So let's put that aside. The real thing is middle schoolers must now learn that, quote, how slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
Yeah, of course. They learn how to survive ass whippings. The reality is these people are absolutely insane. The conversation around race gets so exhausting here in this country because imagine you were a group of people that completely took over another group of people, did not treat them well, were extremely violent to them, disservice them as much as possible, and you only use them to your convenience. You would never want that group of people to ever have any type of independence or power outside of you for fear of reprisal. So that's what we've been running away from since the dawn of time. White people scared Black people going to turn around and do the same thing that they have done to them. Unfortunately, for my people, we're not like that. Black people are not like that. We're just trying to get some level of not even equity. We're just trying to get a little piece of the pie. And Florida is one of the places, I hate to say it because I have a lot of friends there. I can't stand Florida. I hate Florida. And this is exactly why they got alligators running around trying to rip their ass apart. Only in Florida can you see fucking alligators and damn crocodiles at the same damn time because they tired of them. They tired.
Yeah, alligators are based. They're woke as fuck. They're like, we know what's up. No, it's low. I mean, look, it's low-lying ground. Climate change is coming very soon. And yes, I believe in resettling only the woke people in Florida. Only people who are interested in real American history and not whatever the hell this is. You know, there's a lot to say. Ron DeSantis defended these remarks. I want to just play it.
He did. These niggas is crazy. All of them is nuts. And then the thing about it is they don't have no formal education, half of them. They just be saying whatever the fuck they want. They are completely weird. This is why I said we don't need to, when we keep asking people who are mentally disturbed, people who have been resting on their laurels and have been able to coast through life on mediocrity, when we ask them to give us some type of assistance, that also makes us mentally insane. Mm-hmm. You have to independently create your own environment where you are supporting your own self and not going to them and asking them. The fact that they are controlling anything at all, and I'm a Christian, I'm telling you, the fact that they keep putting all this Christianity and Jesus said this, Jesus ain't talked to these niggas in eons. He don't talk to them. You think he talked to them? You think Jesus gonna waste his time to talk to them? Ron DeSantis house? What about the other fool that left his damn chihuahua in the damn house while he went to damn Mexico with his damn daughter to celebrate a birthday party, and the damn chihuahua had to learn how to cook and clean on his own? They don't care about nobody but themselves. They're fools.
You said it so well. It's truly disturbing. Yamaneika, before we move on, I just want to mention that the people who he entrusted to rewrite history in the Florida Education Board did it also poorly. So this is from Mother Jones, which mentions that several of the historic figures that supposedly went on to use their skills learned as enslaved people, including blacksmiths, shoemakers, fishing, shipping industry workers, tailors, ironically enough, teachers. But it appears, according to this article, that the Florida educators didn't do their homework. As critics were quick to note, many of the examples listed in the statement were never slaves, or they launched their respective professions only after gaining their freedom.
What did I tell you? What did I say? You can't get it from them. Oh yeah, black people were slaves, and that's how Nike came about. They don't know what the hell they talking about. That's why we got the Gordon fishermen now, because everybody was slaves. Like all of these industries that they also try to keep black people out of, it's absolutely insane. When they talk, it's like for me, when we used to watch the Peanuts and the teacher was saying something, it'd be wing wong, wing wong, wing wong. Nobody knew what the hell she was talking about. That's what I was saying to them. I can't even tell you what Marjorie Taylor Greene, if they didn't keep saying her name so much, I would just completely ignore this woman. These people need to be ignored at all costs. But again, we have to understand the Democrats, we love to run around, very quiet. Democrats also got their shit with them too, understand? But we also like to be very passive in certain things. We just let these people run amok with their guns, their nonsense, their faith, and just completely running amok, doing whatever they want. And they are tearing down this country limb by limb. That's why they go to Mars or wherever the hell they going now to figure out if they can breathe on Saturn, because they got to mess America up big time.
Just go to Saturn and try to breathe the air. Go, Elon. We'll be right behind you.
People are going down we be becoming mermaids. We want to go to the sea. We want to get out of here. Find some freedom in the sea. Get some gills going.
Honestly, just do it. Get your Kevin Costner on already. No, it's all trash. I'm excited and scared for the generation in 20 years that is like, actually, it's cool to be enslaved. You get all the benefits. Because there's all the skills. Amazing. We need Ron DeSantis to get eaten by an alligator now and go. But Yam, you're on strike. Am I correct? Are you currently striking as part of WGA?
Honey, striking white men against white men and they patriarchy. They got their hands in everything, honey. They haven't really touched ice cream. Let me shout out to Ben and Jerry, who have done so much. Two white men who understand flavoring are not racist at all. Ben and Jerry have done so much for all kinds of different communities. Shout out to those white men, just making natural products, nice, sweet ice cream.
Now I want
Miss
ice cream.
World, come on.
How do we get on Ben and Jerry's? Wait, so I like how I was like, "Are you on strike?" And you're like, Ben and Jerry's ice cream, which
Because
is
when I found out about Ben and Jerry's missions during, I didn't really know much about them. I found out a lot about them during the pandemic.
yeah.
I will applaud those white men for doing what they doing. Okay, but am I on strike? Yes, I'm on strike against every white man except for Ben and then Jerry.
Okay. Okay, hold that thought because we have a man joining us, and he has been following the striking workers at UPS, the Teamsters, who just today, and there's some very exciting updates about their contract and whether or not it's going through. But we're talking about 300,000 workers, 6% of the GDP that moves through UPS. And with us, the host of a podcast dedicated to the Teamsters and UPS and what's going on right now called Upsurge. He is that host, and he's a contributor to the Real News Network, and his work has been featured in The Nation and The New Republic. Please welcome Teddy Ostrow.
Hey, y'all.
Hey,
How's it going? Thanks for having me. Solidarity to all the workers out there. My uncle's a striking actor right now. Solidarity to everybody out there right now.
Awesome. Teddy, I wanted to ask you what is the latest right now with UPS? I know just as we were like going live, there's a tentative deal on a new contract. What are you hearing?
Right. Well, it's been a whirlwind of a day. I took a train down to Baltimore from my home of Brooklyn for a live stream specifically focused on what's going on. And I get a press release saying there's a TA, there's a tentative agreement. This is the largest private sector bargaining agreement in the United States. And we have now a TA. We don't have the language, but right now it looks like there's a lot of significant gains. We don't know all the details, and I'm getting a whirlwind of different reactions right now. Okay. But we're looking at 340,000 workers. Over half of them are part-time package handlers, warehouse workers. The other half are these delivery drivers, the people that you and I interact with every day. They're dealing with a ton of different issues. Contract talks broke down about 3 weeks ago. Over the past 3 weeks, what have we seen? We've seen a ramping up of the contract campaign, practice pickets, rallies, distributing information, trainings, all this stuff to make a strike threat credible.
Right. Strike testing, as Jane McAlevey would say.
Absolutely.
As we've talked about. So basically kind of doing all this groundwork. I just want to stop you because since the strike talks broke down, the union's been like, okay, we're going to organize. We're going to get to work even before an actual strike.
Yeah. I mean, this has actually been a year. This has been a year of a contract campaign. This is not really common. The last time, what we're looking at right now is truly a historic moment for the Teamsters union, for the labor movement in general, for the broader, quote unquote economy and logistics. And just to take one piece of that, for the Teamsters, for the labor movement, they've been organizing this for a year. August last year is when they started, which I believe was the 25th anniversary of the last time UPSers went on strike, 185,000 of them in 1997. But they've been preparing. This is something that is different, that is the result also of electing a new, more aggressive leadership in the union. And this is happening in different unions around the country as well. We're seeing more confrontation with corporations, and they've prepared. They are distributing information. They're getting everybody mobilized, excited, raising expectations. That's really key and important. And we're seeing that. So the past 3 weeks, they just ramped it up. We saw all these fun videos from all around the country, workers basically practicing the picket line. It's pretty amazing to see just like how many people have been organized. And it clearly worked. Workers, the most important thing on the tool belt of a worker is the strike, right? Yeah. The threat of a strike. And they really brandished that, and they clearly have gotten at least some of the goods. We don't have all the language, but the key things that were basically hanging up these negotiations were the wages for part-timers. Right. And these are 60% of the workforce. Some of these folks make $16.20 an hour. Before the COLA increase, it was $15.50. Poverty wages. These are people in poverty. And it looks like, there are significant increases. The people I'm talking to are saying, this is incredible. Other folks are saying this is not good enough. But
Okay.
really, we don't have all the information, and we're going to see, are they going to vote this down? Just to emphasize, this is a TA, so this isn't set in stone yet. There's about, we're going to have to wait about 3 weeks till late August to know whether this is the contract.
And do you have any understanding about whether they've leveled the playing field in terms of the wages for part-time? Like, are they being adequately compensated now? Are the people who I know we're doing the same work, but then getting paid a lot less? Has
Right.
that changed at all in this contract?
Right. Well, there's just to go over some of the major issues. There's a bunch of them going on. What we were just talking about is like one of the lingering ones. Contract talks broke down July 5th. That's what we were talking about. Now 3 weeks of like basically organizing to prove, we're ready or they're ready. So they, specifically part-timers, they were bumped up to a base pay of $21. And then there's a general wage increase totaling around $7.50. Some catch-up raises, as it's called, basically for part-timers who've been there for a very, very long time. And this is a terrible wage chaos going on at UPS. So trying to compensate people who've held out, right?
Right.
So it looks like, it depends on who you ask, but it looks like there has been a significant bump there. What you were talking about with like tiered wages and stuff, this is impacting like tons of workplaces all over, the country. UAW, like Kellogg's, UPS is no different. Basically, unequal work for equal work for unequal pay. There are two classes of drivers, and this was a huge issue because some were making way less than the others and had less protections. This appears to be abolished, which is a huge, huge win.
Oh, wow.
This was like one of the main things that they were fighting for over the past year. This is what Sean O'Brien, the president of the union, was basically running on, kick-ass contract UPS, leveraging that for Amazon organizing, which they are already starting. We also are going to see air conditioning in new package cars. There's obviously some devil in the details there. We saw people die.
Yeah. And we've also seen, I've seen recently, just different viral videos of UPS workers, talking about solidarity and folks who are full-time and also are, on the upper tier of the 2-tier system, but who are like, no, I would go on strike because solidarity, because my fellow workers are getting underpaid and this is BS and it's making our entire industry more precarious. But yeah, I mean, it's so funny because, the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA strike are going on. The AMPTP has refused to even come to the table with a tentative agreement. That they don't have a counteroffer there. Mm-hmm. We have this counteroffer now. I mean, it's not as many workers and arguably more money to be lost, but it's really interesting that clearly and I don't want to get into Teamsters are more organized. I don't think that's what I'm saying, but I think it is interesting that UPS has come to the table.
Well, it's about probably what they think, Teddy, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's probably what they think the value system is, right? We're still trying to prove value points here on the side of the creatives. Right. And if the Teamsters strike, the world is dependent upon packages. You understand? And they're dependent upon people who execute that. And that has not become as automated and as, all these, a drone can do this and do that. It still doesn't take place. We have a major storm out here right now. I just saw 2 young women delivering packages and you know what I'm saying? So, and they out there in that rain. So we don't have that end. On the other end, it's like, well, we don't need the actors. We don't need the writers. Mm-hmm. We can continue to do this without them. And so once, there has been a dry spell of us being available and we see what, the public also has to get involved with us as well. Like when I hear UPS is going on strike, I'm like, no, they're not. Because somebody better talk to somebody because I need stuff.
For sure.
Here's that actors or writers are like, oh, what are they complaining about? We don't need them. Yeah, because you got marathons of Green Acres that you can watch. But how long are you going to be able to watch that shit?
No. I mean, honestly, once the consumer boycott starts, if it does start for SAG, and for the industry, that's different. And or if for some reason, the trickle of streaming just stopped. If everything stopped, people would probably take to the streets, to find out like Stranger Things has got to come back, obviously.
Yes.
People will lose their minds. But this is, I mean, it's a good sign. I don't know, Teddy, if you wanted to, were they expecting? I mean, this is a win, right? They don't want to go on strike. Nobody really wants to go on strike.
I think that, yeah. I mean, you know, it depends on who you ask. There are certainly some people out there who believe that a strike would show this country, a strike of 340,000 workers, definitionally in every single zip code in the country, can show that when workers fight and when they strike, this leverage that a lot of us don't use, they win, right? That said, these are people who need this money. They have families. You know, they say nobody wants to strike. That's probably mostly accurate. You know, so this was a really, really important TA that we haven't fully seen. We've seen like the highlights from the Teamsters, and there are significant gains. Whether that's enough for the workers, that's up for the workers to decide.
Sure,
we're going to see.
What do you? I mean, I think it's really interesting because there is an argument to be made that like you just did. Maybe a strike would be good for, you know, I mean, if there's anything that they're missing there, they could just do a baby strike and let's see how much that costs UPS, you know? And they'll come to the table even, like, they know they can get more out of them, you know?
I had a question for Teddy, Francesca, if I could.
Yeah, please.
I know one of the things that they do on our end in the Writers Guild and Actors Guild is they keep you stuck in a position so that they don't have to pay you, right? Like instead of making you could be doing the same work as a principal actor, but they could keep you on a smaller scale so that they can pay you that scale. It sounds like to me that they keep a lot of people in part-time because it's more beneficial to keep them in part-time instead of letting them become full-time. Can you add
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the story of UPS over the past decades, like, you know, part of the reason I wanted to do the Upsurge with my co-producer, Ruby Walsh, is that there's so much history to this, the Teamsters, of the economy, like there are just so many things to peel back. And just to that point, UPS is what it is today, the largest package courier in the world, because they had a two-tier system developed back in the 80s, before the two-tier of the drivers that was just seemingly resolved in this TA, where they split the pay of full-time and part-time workers. They started replacing full-timers with part-timers because it was better for them schedule-wise. They could basically exploit them further. And that's why we saw over the 80s, huge explosion of UPS in the 90s, even more so, to the point where people were fed up. They were scared to lose their full-time jobs. They were upset that they didn't get enough hours at times. And if they did get enough hours, they were making half the wages. So there's all these different ways that UPS has created tiers or divisions, tried to stoke divisions in the workforce. And they were a trailblazer for the rest of corporate America. This is a part of a larger trend, right? This is corporate restructuring, whether it's outsourcing or moving factories down to the South where there's less union-friendly, environment. This is just what UPS does, and they've benefited from it. And in 1997, people were fed up, particularly with this part-time issue, and they struck and they won. Unfortunately, the Teamsters went back to sort of like this old guard leadership. And again, we saw exploitation of part-time workers, more of them, the introduction of new tiers, like the driver tier. So yeah, they totally like to cordon off people, you know, stoke division, try to divide the workforce, crack the union. This is what UPS is, and they're a leader on that front.
And that just seems like such a basic labor issue that this country cannot fucking like legislate around, which is there has to be a cap on part-time work. You know what I mean? You have to offer people full-time work if they can work full-time. That's it.
Absolutely.
Like, it seems like a basic labor law and protection that we don't have. But I did want to ask about Amazon, because when we had talked about Teamsters, I think with Alex Press a few months ago, and we were talking about Amazon and what this could mean for Amazon delivery drivers.
Well, this is the golden ticket to bring and for the Teamsters to show the workers, look what you can win with a union. Amazon drivers, they're right now, they're 84 of them, dispatchers and delivery drivers are striking right now in Palmdale, California. They've taken these picket lines rolling across to several states, basically to tell the company, look, like, you need to recognize us. And it's very difficult for them because they're in a different situation than the UPS drivers.
Right.
UPS is kind of like a unionized island in the logistics sector, and Amazon is gunning for the top spot, except for they do this thing where they have delivery service partners, basically subcontractors who, hire all of their delivery drivers. So they're not technically employees. And that means that they don't get all these protections. It also makes it harder to unionize, which is the fight going on right now.
Totally.
But even the warehouse workers, they're severely exploited, which is why it was so important for the part-timers, who are mostly warehouse workers, to win big in this contract. So the Teamsters can say, look, if you unionize, if you fight, this is what you can win. And the stakes are unionizing Amazon or deterioration of the working class, because that's what Amazon really is to all of us, including actors, writers, and everyone in the entertainment industry.
Podcasters.
Of course. Yeah, you and me.
We exactly. No, because Palmdale Amazon drivers, they have affiliated with the Teamsters, correct?
Yes, they have. Local 396. They are
Incredible.
Teamsters now.
That's great.
The Amazon hasn't recognized them. And that's
right,
sort
of
of
course not.
this issue right now. They want to make sure that they could be classified as a joint employer, meaning that Amazon does in fact control their work, which they do. And therefore they have to bargain. They have to come to the bargaining table, and not just this DSP, which is battle tested strategies, which they signed a contract. They got $30 an hour. But the question is, can they actually get that? Because Amazon controls everything. That, besides maybe like ownership of these cars that they use.
Yeah,
so it's
which
a
is
mess.
its own like ridiculous pyramid scheme with the owners of the trucks and the different trucking companies and subcontracted companies who get screwed over. There's been a lot of reporting also about that, and how ruinous it is it's not profitable for them. They're being the middleman in the Amazon case. But yeah,
Amazon's model is basically just like, undercut prices, make sure you can kick everyone out, become a monopoly. And that's when, of course, you can start raising prices. FedEx does this too. They all have all of their drivers, or most of their drivers, subcontractors. What does that mean? These workers are exploited even more.
Yeah. Before we let you go, tell me about like how the media has been covering or not covering. I mean, there has been kind of this radio silence around like actors and writers. You don't see, you see interviews, Yamaneika, with writers and actors on the streets, but nobody no one's rolling out like an interview with Matt Damon in studio. And it's like, gee, I wonder why, because it's the same studio,
Yeah.
But, so what about UPS? How's the media been covering this or not?
Man, there's a lot of media problems with how UPS has been covered. It's basically anything that's in the supply chain area, like anything that really can grind this economy to a halt, which UPS can't. UPS workers, 6% of the GDP transported by UPS. We saw it with the rail workers last year. In the lead up to a potential strike, we got media sounding the alarms. Most of them saying, we have this huge thing coming. Be careful. Like, this is what you need to do with your packages. This is how you can prepare. All the economic damage is coming, instead of, wow, look at these 340,000 workers who are fighting for the working class. Who if they win this brilliant contract with a credible strike threat, then this is going to, change people's lives way beyond even this enormous workforce. So it's framing us. The media has really been framing us as consumers, which, we are. And, as we were saying before, like it would kind of not be great to get our packages late. But what also would not be great is if the UPS exploits these workers and all of our standards fall. That is a way higher cost than this potential billions and billions of dollars that would be lost. There's just, the impact is immense.
Well, there's no one on television truly arguing from the point of view of working people, who's like, what will this mean for my family? It's like, no, you're fine.
The media wants to like do our work for us and define us as the consumers.
Yes.
When in reality, most of us are workers, and so if you identify as a consumer in this particular situation, that you can be a consumer rights advocate, and that's very important. But in this situation, if you're a consumer or you're a worker, that's the question of which side are you on. And if when your packages stop, are you pissed off as a consumer and therefore at the workers, or are you pissed off because you're a worker and you're pissed off at the company? And that's the question. And the media, mainstream media generally is not helping. I think it's better in recent years. We have more labor reporters. We have shows like this.
Yes.
So there's better coverage.
And definitely, mainstream news is all like, they are grooming us to be little happy capitalists and future billionaires, although never going to happen. And it's always like, how does this affect you and all the BS that you bought? Which totally, I'm a new mom. I need my packages. Yeah. I need my sippy cups with the long straws. But it's at this point.
Mom, I get it. I got my cat's on all kinds of pills.
Exactly.
Kidney pills. He just doing his little, he come here. He need help.
We need to check out how this cat is doing.
He needs UPS packages.
Oh, baby.
You gotta take kidney pills, the thyroid pills.
Oh.
Yeah,
they have to keep coming.
Also needs a parent who can pay those bills and and pay for those packages. It's actually what's been amazing to me, like just seeing the SAG and WGA and entertainment strikes is like we often cordon off entertainment workers in like this position where we don't even think of them as workers. They're doing labors of love or like they're celebrities or whatever.
Sure. Or it's all for the prestige.
Hearing people talk, like folks who like, I believe there's that guy, Alex O'Keefe, who like was on food stamps and even though wrote like a hit television show.
That's everyone.
It's
and
everybody.
It's with the actors and the writers. It's like people think we are in a luxury career, right? Mm-hmm. You chose this luxury, because you could just get out here and do this other thing. They don't respect that there are people who have creative, and that creatives should also be respected. And it's a gift. It's so listen. I just won a WGA award.
Congrats.
And I'm not. So, I loved working on Inside Amy Schumer. I love being with those people. We worked hard to bring such great, but it was like, the year we win, okay, now everybody going on strike. So sometimes you don't want the prestige because it's like, I would like to just skip past all of this. But at the end of the day, when we talk about at the top of the pandemic, when we were struggling the most, there's a certain amount of money you have to make to get insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then it was cutting people off that didn't have that amount just out of nowhere, telling us that COBRA would be an option. I'm blessed that I had enough money to stay into making the insurance. Who knows what's going to happen for all of us next year because we don't have the work that we're doing. So COBRA is not an option. COBRA is
the worst.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's
adequately named because it's a venomous piece of shit.
Yeah.
But all of this though, it's like, I am very excited for a potential strike. I do hope that I hope they pull the trigger. I hope they do
vote it down. Yeah.
I hope they vote it down. But I also more broadly hope that these like hot labor summers and everything starts to turn into some real agenda points for what we need in this country, which are, for example, universal health care for the love of fucking God. So we don't have to, it's not piecemeal like this. And it's also like, it should not ultimately be the union's job. The union should be like advocating to make sure our healthcare is good. But, what are we doing here in this country anymore? Because anyway, yeah.
And the money's there. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
It's not like people are bleeding. It's not like you bleeding them dry. The money's there. And what it is these people at the top, they want to buy, when you watch these shows where they, back in the day when VH1 used to do these opulent shows about who has the most this, the most that. And then, there's like all these billionaires compete to see who's got the longest yacht, who's got the access to it. So it's just like the money's there. They got it.
Yep.
They have it. They're not going to suffer for sharing with other people at all. It's not even going to make a dent for them.
Yeah, that's like, I think that's a huge point, Yamaneika. They're all pleading poverty. UPS is saying power package volumes are going to go down. AMPTP is like, this is going to harm us. And it's like, what about like the people who create your wealth?
Yes.
What about what happened to labor creates all wealth?
Yep.
So it's just, it's
so
ridiculous.
clear.
I think people are waking up to it though. And what you said, Francesca, like, it's like the key thing here is, can these wins be parlayed into new organizing, and can it be parlayed into other broader gains for working people? And hope that's what will make this not a blip, but an upward trend. We're seeing a lot more people on strike this year than we have in a while. We're on track to reach like 80s level strike activity, which isn't particularly like the most strikes we've ever seen. But the difference, right? Barry Eidlin, a sociologist, I was talking about with this. In the 80s, there was, in 70s, lots of strikes, but they were defensive. Right now, we're seeing a smaller upsurge, but potentially in an upward trajectory. So hopefully that's the case, And I share that same desire of kind of want to see what the workers can achieve when they flex their muscles.
Absolutely. And if the Teamsters can lead us along with Ron Perlman, we'll be fine.
That was an awesome video.
It was an awesome video. And I do feel like, it is important to have, a lot of leftists will just take to Twitter and be like, general strike. And it's like, okay, let's first do some non-general strikes. And then, the podcasters will strike, but not today. Because, here we are. So thank you so much, Teddy, for being on. Everybody check out Upsurge Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Anything else we should know, Teddy? Where can we follow you?
Check us out at 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Live stream with Maximilian Alvarez, the real news in these times, and the Upsurge. We're bringing on 4 Teamsters, and boy, we did not necessarily expect to have the TA today, so it might get a little spicy. It'll be fun. Well, unscripted. Let's go. So tune in.
That's on Real News Network?
Yes, you can check it out on YouTube, the Real News Network. Thanks for bringing me on. And Yamaneika, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Teddy.
Thank you so much. And we have one more segment, final little segment.
I just want to say that, Francis. He was so awesome.
Please.
And this is the type of spirit you need also fighting for you. People who are, can have perspective and empathy and sympathy. So that was just one. And also, he's in my hometown right now. So good luck to him.
Oh, Baltimore?
Baltimore, honey. He better hope he get out of there without getting robbed.
You got to do my husband's podcast about The Wire. He was doing a rewatch podcast.
That's my family, The Wire.
All right. Well, we have one more segment. Did you see either Barbie or Oppenheimer this weekend?
No, good and well I didn't.
I didn't either. And I'm a little pissed at Barbie because apparently the conceit is kind of similar to like my stand-up bit about Barbie and how like she needs to atone before she can be all woke and chill.
My bit too about the Ken being a bum. That's what I found. They've been watching our sets, girl. I'm like, oh, they got all of a sudden they got Barbie. Oh, did I write this script for them?
You have a bit about Ken being a bum?
I said, are you kidding me? Barbie's the most spectacular woman in the world. We've all been trained to be like her as a woman, and all she has done is settle for a bum nigga. You can, that's her job. Barbie had 6,000 jobs. She was everywhere. She was a pilot, flight attendant. She was a pharmacist to taxidermy. She worked at the Beyonce a couple days, stylist, veterinarian, race car driver, president of the United States, vice president, and then she get Kim ain't got no job. Bum, nowhere. Just in the package looking like a bum. She had to take him out the package, take him to the mall she built, buy him an outfit, get him a car. For what? He ain't going nowhere.
No, wait. Okay, so yeah. I feel like we've been scooped a little bit. Like there's been a lot of
girl, please. We need to strike them. Me and Francesca about to strike the Barbie franchise.
We're striking Barbie movie. We're striking it. Okay, so instead, I'm asking if we were to do a film about a toy that we liked, or just so you want to see a movie about, and also a war crime, if anything comes to mind, just like, dropping the atomic bomb. This is our sequels. Okay, I will go first on the toy.
Okay. Because
obviously a cartoon version of the Garbage Pail Kids would be
Girl, are we
hilarious.
the same age? How you know Pail Kids.
Yeah, I'm like almost 40.
Girl. I thought you was 12.
I know, right? I wish. You know, I can't do TikTok. I'm old. No,
Yeah.
Garbage Pail Kids.
Mhm.
You know, there was some really gross ones. Like there was one where a dude had like a ski. I think he was on something where an entire post was in his mouth and like went through him.
Oh,
It
my
was
God.
disgusting.
Yes, they were gross.
They
We
were
liked them.
In fact, there is a guy named Adam Bomb is like 80 AM and his head is an atom bomb. There's a guy named Russ Puss. He's just squeezing a pimple into a bowl.
Yeah.
That'd be disgusting. Let's see. Oh God, there's
That was the
acne,
80s. Wow.
acne Amy. I mean, this is like the pre Ren and Stimpy type, you know? Sunburn Bernie.
How did we make it? We had the most toxic childhood of ever.
I know. And also we like as a new mom, I'm just like, we cried so much in our cribs. Nobody knew we were crying. Nobody.
No.
We just like hours. And my mom's like, you never cried as a kid. I'm like, no. You never heard me.
Right.
I screamed. You just had no monitors. You were just like, nah.
They didn't care. I was writing a manifesto in my crib.
Whoever finds this message. Anyway, Garbage Pail Kids would be disgusting, and I feel like people would like it, and I feel like it's the kind of like crass, crude awfulness that it's not a blockbuster because it's not really kid. It is gonna be PG-13, if not R.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I think we should get a movie about. I think Jonah Hill should be in it. Obviously the star.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what favorite toys that you want to? Hot Wheels might get a movie apparently, or is getting a movie.
They should. Yeah, Hot Wheels was very popular. I had a Hot Wheel.
Yeah, what did I have that I had? Did you remember this is old?
What?
Did you have like a Teddy Ruxpin? Do you remember that?
Girl, please. I thought you was really gonna say, "Oh, Teddy Ruxpin." Now, my grandmother made me get rid of him because she thought the devil was inside him. Yeah, my grandmother ain't gonna have nothing in the house. Just like he talking on his own, and he don't need to be. Yeah, she put him right outside and rebuked him.
She was like, "It talks, and it requires double D batteries, which are like $1 million. So no."
I couldn't do that. I couldn't watch the Care Bears either because they had them little puff magic things come out of their stomach that my grandmother thought was witchcraft. Well, my grandmother ruined my childhood. I couldn't watch the Smurfs. There was only one girl. She's trying to figure out, well, why is only one girl? What's going on with her? With all these men?
So she was like canceled.
Canceled. Done.
I like how, your grandmother was like canceling cartoons. And yet you still emerged with your own version of your own religion and Christianity. That seems like very healthy. Like you were able to get past that. And what were you allowed to have? And or what do you want to see? Like what cartoon you want to see come to life?
I was a big Jim fan.
Yes, I thought you were going to say that.
But I'm gonna tell you something. I love the holograms more than I love Jim. You know what I'm saying?
Course.
Outside.
Of course. They're the bad girls. We like the bad girls.
Yeah, I love the holograms. Jim was amazing. Nobody ever remembers the shirt tails. Now that's old school.
Shark Tales?
The shirt tails. The shirt tails were these little animals that lived in a treehouse in the zoo, and they had little shirts on. Nobody remembers a thing. But listen. Give me a shirt tail, Furby. I can't stand it.
Wait, shirt. This looks like some old.
You saw it? You found them?
No, yeah, 1982.
Shirt tails. That was my cartoon. I love them.
They're very play. They're very cute.
They didn't get enough play. They got railed. I think Yogi the Bear moved them to the side. You can't watch too many shows with animals in a treehouse and a white man as a ranger. So,
Right, of course. So if Jem became a film, who would play the Misfits? Like who's the the girl with the green hair, and then there's the black girl with the purple hair. Yeah. Like who do you want to play them?
Well, they definitely gonna make the holograms people of color.
Oh, yes.
But somehow their leader is still some white girl.
Right, exactly. I know that was always like what?
Yeah. I don't listen. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
There's so many girls that could do it. I know I want to be in there just dancing around in the background.
I love Jem. So What about a war crime? Or are we just doing it the same, like it's the same movie and it's about your childhood, and the war crime is your grandma taking away all your cartoons?
Yeah, I mean, like basically, I don't know. I mean, war crime. There was so much stuff going on during our time that we also ignored. I think we're in a time now where people are really paying attention to, I just saw a horrific story. It just upset me so much. There was just an honor killing recently in India. A young lady, 22 years old, but beheaded by her brother because she married this guy that they didn't want to. And I was just like, who is he to be putting his hands? I want to behead that guy so bad. So it's like, I want to see movies where women are really taking their power, where people who are disenfranchised are taking their power. But
Yes.
It's very hard in this world because across the globe, people have really bought into the idea of whiteness. So many movies have been whitewashed, El Postino, Water for Chocolate. And you go watch the original version, you're like, well, this was way better than what we restructured. So it's hard to say when we can really tell stories that are equal, then we can have a better time with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting about, stories about evil people, I mean, Oppenheimer's not necessarily evil. I think that's the crux of this movie, is about all of his moral misgivings about the thing that he invented and created and was used to kill millions of people. And I think that's what's so fascinating about this. But I do feel like, I did see Vice for the first time, the Adam McKay film about Dick Cheney. And I really resisted, because what I hate about when like horrible people are portrayed is there's still the protagonist. There's a little bit of like fascination and, again, protagonist energy. We like this person. We have empathy for this person. Like, there have been a couple of, what's that Bush one where it's just like he's just sort of a lovable idiot, and it all serves to humanize, I think, monsters. So I think that's a really, I will just say, not a war crime, but for sure, Daniel Ellsberg, who just passed away, who released the Pentagon Papers. We need to see that dramatized in a way that maybe I haven't seen. Maybe it exists and you're like, Francesca, you haven't seen Bickety, and like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I think oh God, who's the West Wing guy? I'm blanking on his name, but there was like the trial of the Chicago trial or whatever. And that movie came out. I don't know. I'm doing a terrible job. I'm terrible.
I'm having so much fun. Francesca, you're one of my favorite people now. You're so incredible.
Meanwhile,
the feeling where I didn't want to come and have zero energy. I'm in between. You just lift my spirit. You're so great.
Thank you so much.
No, I really do, and I like how informative you are. It just, people are foolish if this show doesn't blow up, and your audience needs to be blowing you up.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
The audience that is there is absolutely blowing me up, and I appreciate y'all, and especially Coffee Cup with a Nervous, who says Aaron Sorkin. Yeah, it was an Aaron Sorkin film, and it was okay, but I definitely want something about Daniel Ellsberg. I do without humanizing him. I think a movie about how Bashar al-Assad and the Syrian civil war would be fascinating. And I don't want to make this any darker, but it would be, that's a massive war crime right there, the Syrian civil war. But I
want to see a full-blown Mighty Python version of January 6th with the Benny Hill. That got to be the opening credit, because my God in heaven, what is happening? I want a director. I want to be a part of it.
Do you think? But it's so funny because Trump always talks about that person from Central Casting. But has there ever been a person who was more surrounded by the most bizarre seeming extra ass weirdo Central Casting fools than Donald Trump and the people who stormed the Capitol?
Yeah, no,
you can't make that up.
What's so funny is if we across the board white, black, everything in between. If we really took this on what, we get divided because of race and racism, and there being a hierarchy there, but it really becomes about class. It becomes about the power elite and money, because all of these low rent, low brow hillbillies who ain't making it, that support Donald Trump, who is a man that if he was in their presence, he wouldn't even let them walk into his house. I think that they are aligning themselves with him because he represents a white person like them that speaks his mind, and they want to go back to that, but they will never have that level of access, because on top of racism, there is a hierarchy in class, and social standing financially, that these people are fighting for, that they're never going to have access to.
Yeah. It's the dumb man. Racism is the dumb man socialism. I mean, it basically is. It's offering, I don't think they're all working class. Like I've talked about that a lot. That like a lot of the people who stormed the Capitol were middle class. They had businesses. They shuttered them in the middle of the week to go on a trip to DC. They had the money to fly into DC. But let's put that aside and just say the last gasp of racism and white people holding on to it is because that's how they feel in control when they have been so disempowered by corporations, by whatever, deindustrialization, by their politicians, by these idiots, that they're like, well, at least if I'm better than this person, this person, and this person.
And I don't think they flew in, to be honest with you, because I do material about that. January 6th. Everybody acting like they don't know what's happening. Anytime white people doing stuff, everybody like, what happened? Where'd he come from? They was all caravanning down I-95 and damn Ford trucks stopping at Wawa every 45 minutes to get gas and beef jerky. Their grandmother was tied to the hood of their car in a wicker chair. She was smoking a pipe. They knew where these people were coming from. They saw them. They didn't just hear. But we also don't want to, for the amount of violence that is put on my people, and the way we have seen so much terrorism come from the other side, and we don't acknowledge it. Again, that's why I said I don't blame these people. They're living in a world that's not going to check them. They're living in a world where they're able to do whatever they want. And as long as they can live in that world and not be checked, you are going to constantly find circumstances like that. So good that people are trying to push up on the RICO charges. I was very surprised that anybody said anything when it came to Trump. I was shocked because they're really trying to hold him accountable.
Yeah. And
poor George Bush Jr., he was a fool. He was a dummy that could barely read. You understand? And he got into a position because he was a puppet. Yeah, there is some humanity in him. He is a fool that is being played. At the same time, it's unfortunate. He had such an attraction to Michelle Obama. He couldn't help himself. Every time you see him with Michelle Obama, he's somewhere holding up underneath her like he's some foster child. So he's also had to be, like he can't give it to his desires. All he wants to do is touch the skin and smell the skin of Michelle Obama. He's like an ant every time, or like a pesky mosquito. And poor Michelle Obama, she's just like, Obama, let me talk to him for a second because he got such a crush on me. Let me just deal with him, and then we'll never have to see him for another 4 years.
Okay, so we're doing January 6th, and we're doing it with the Benny Hill theme, and I'm very excited to see who plays piano key scarf lady and all of the other weirdos.
Black security guard, that's going to be played by Anthony Anderson. That they running around like a maze piece in damn Hunger Games.
Oh my god! What? Anyway, I'm very excited for the Hollywood rendition when this strike is over and the AMPTP come to their goddamn senses. Or we're going to have to make them. So everybody join a picket line. Everybody, put on a hat and some sunscreen and get your asses out there. I've been trying to bring the baby and figuring out when a good time, when it's not like 97 degrees.
Yeah.
But Yamaneika, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you, follow you, see you live?
You get everything at Yamaneika, everywhere. You can follow me at Yamaneika. If you want to get in contact with me and see my shows and stuff like that. But I cannot leave here without saying, Francesca, this was an amazing time. I did not feel good. I had zero energy here. I had no idea how I was going to make it. But your presence, everything you got going on behind the scenes, the young lady behind the scenes, so sweet. I'm so glad to see you doing it, and more power to you. And
thanks so much.
Come back, you call me and I'll come right here.
Oh, I will take you up on that. Thank you so much. That young lady is Paige, and she is wonderful. Everybody follow Yamaneika, Yamaneika. You're great, and thanks so much. Take care, and thank you guys for being here, for sticking around, for all your super chats, for your love, for your contributions to the chat. Mean Streets writes on YouTube, Trump was asked about his favorite line of scripture. He delivered a word salad for a while and finally tried to recall an eye for an eye. It's just, I mean, we've done a mashup at this point. Is there a mashup of all of the times he's just utterly like whiffed this answer? Dank Prohl says, should we also teach about petty crime committed by the Jews during the Holocaust? I mean, honest, that is a wonderful analogy. That is exactly right. It's like, well, in the ghettos, Jews stole from each other. Mr. Anderson, thank you so much for becoming a member on YouTube. That allows you to watch back all of the bonus episodes we've ever done. Bonus episodes every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, generally much lighter, much more fun, even though we have a lot of fun on Tuesdays. Dances with Gerbils, thank you so much for your super chat. Start and Park Racing on Twitch. I'm so glad the full-timers were looking out for the part-timers. That's about UPS. Thank you. Yeah, agreed. Gatling Combo, the fact they haven't had any air conditioning in those cars is ridiculous. I know they're see-through. I think it's like the logic of like the subway system in New York, where it's like, well, the air will be pushed around by the cars. Like, no, that's not how it works ever. Dr. Doom on YouTube, UPS is a great company because of the Teamsters. Amen. And public domain should get bennies no matter the hours. Is true in terms of the WGA. I agree. Thing is I don't think that the WGA would be able to even, or that SAG-AFTRA would be able to survive, enabling, like, getting healthcare. Healthcare is expensive. It is. And it is via the union that actors and writers are getting their healthcare. It's not via these private companies. So it's about the contributions. Any hoodle. Groove Dragon on YouTube. Solidarity forever. United we rise. Upsurge. Take the power back. Yes. Marshall Ghetto. Hey, what's up? How are you? Marshall came to see me live recently. Says that cat had thoughts. Oh, it did. It absolutely did. Dory B telling me, need mods to bounce trolls. I know, we need mods. We don't have mods. Anybody want to be a mod? Y'all want to be a mod so we can get the trolls out of here? We did have a mod for a little bit, and then we no mod no more. Yeah, thank you all so much. I'm going to thank everybody else with, you know what time it is. We've got some new patrons to thank as well. $10 as a patron gets you a lovely shout out in the fart song. Thank you to patrons at $10 or more. Matt Caswell, bienvenidos. I think I might have shouted you out last week, but that's okay. And NF, thank you so much for becoming a patron. And thanks to all the patrons at $5. You are wonderful. Up your pledge and you get that shout out. Also wanted to thank, where's my Twitch? People over on Twitch. Thank you to Marshall Ghetto for cheering 100 bits. And also for gifting 2 tier 1 subs and resubscribing. Crushing it. Thank you to Punk Pipe for cheering 200 bits. Gorilla Broad 666 for subscribing at 1 month, tier 1. Kazanthia, thank you for subscribing. And ZX227, hey Francesca, sorry I have not subbed in a while. I had some hospital bills to take care of. Medicare for all, please. Would you mind quickly addressing TYT drama around Benny? Thank you so much for resubscribing. I'm sorry about the hospital bills. F that. I have addressed the BS around what I believe has been transphobic comments by some of the TYT hosts. I did discuss that 2 episodes ago on the main show on the Bitchuation Room, but then I also in our bonus episode went into it more in depth. You all know where I stand. I believe that obsessing about trans athletes is the biggest miss in a very long time, and it is transphobic. And trans liberation is all our liberation. And with that, Thank you to Paige Omek. Thank you to Maximilian Inhofe. Thank you to Andy Vasoyan. And thank you to you all. We'll see you on Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And the following Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Follow us on all the things at Bituation Pod. TikTok and Instagram have their own Bituation Pod handle now. Bituation Room handle, excuse me. So follow us there. And I will see you later. Fight the power. Fuck the patriarchy. And don't just bitch about it. Be about it.